Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report Podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of the Pewter Report Podcast. Happy Friday to everybody. It is an emergency podcast as the Bucs are set to hire Liam Coen as their new offensive coordinator. They have searched far and wide, and they landed on someone that has coaching experience at the college level and at the NFL level. So we're going to break it all down on this emergency show. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place from pewterreport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds. And Scott, Liam Coen, new offensive coordinator, your immediate reaction.
Yeah, well, hopefully he signs the contract because as it stands right now, he's not signed. So he's an expected hire, but the team feels really good about it. He had a great interview with the team. The team, I think, had several good interviews. And whether it's Alex Van Pelt or whether it was Brian Johnson, the former Eagles offensive coordinator, or Liam Coen, the thing that separated these three candidates from the others is the play calling experience.
Yes.
And I think that was important because as good of a job as Dave Canales did as a rookie play caller, there was a learning curve that this team had to endure.
Absolutely.
So the hope is that with bringing on someone who's called plays at the college level and the NFL level, that Liam Coen can hit the ground running and get this offense revved up. The good news is I don't think that his system is going to be a vast departure from Dave Canales. Similar concepts, similar schemes, use of play action. The running game, I think there's going to be some similarities there. It's from that Sean McVay tree that Shane Waldron brought to Seattle, that Dave Canales was influenced by in Seattle. And of course, when you look at Liam Coen, spent several years in LA in a similar track that Dave Canales was up in Seattle. Worked with the wide receivers, worked with the quarterbacks under Sean McVay, and had some really good ones to work with, right? Jared Goff before he was traded to Detroit, and then of course Matt Stafford, right? So he's had some experience in the passing game, and then he's also had play calling stints in college at a couple spots, but most notably Kentucky this past season, and then also in 2021. He went back to the Rams in 2022, and he was originally going to be the replacement for Kevin O'Connell, who was the Rams offensive coordinator. Keep in mind that Sean McVay calls the plays out there in LA. So it was not a play calling situation. O'Connell got the job with the Vikings, and they were going to tab Liam Coen to be the replacement offensive coordinator, but Coen wanted to call plays. So he went to Kentucky for a year, and then he decided to come back when they offered him the offensive coordinator job. And then during that 2022 season, the season after the Rams won the Super Bowl, they were struck with injuries. Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford only played in 9 games that year. And the scoring went from 27 points per game down to just 18. And part of the reason, of course, was when you lose your Pro Bowl quarterback,
and
the best receiver in the game, that's going to happen, right? But the thing is this, in week 12, Sean McVay, wanting to get a bit of a jump start to the Rams offense, gave up the play calling, and he turned those play calling duties over to Liam Coen. And at that point in time, the offense actually saw an uptick in scoring. I think during those games, the final stretch, including a 51-point outburst against the Denver Broncos, Coen's offense actually ticked up to about 19.8 points per game, so almost 20 points per game, a little bit of an increase there. And most notably, Matt, he worked with Baker Mayfield as well as John Wolford, both of those quarterbacks. Mayfield started 4 games, played in 5. Wolford started 3. So he has experience with Baker Mayfield and John Wolford. And Matt, I think that's going to be key when it comes to keeping Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that the continuity standpoint of all of this is most important because, like you talked about before, that connection to Sean McVay, but even on a larger note, because of who was previously here for the Bucs, Shane Waldron, because Shane Waldron has that connection to Dave Canales, and he has
Yep.
that connection to Liam Coen. So when Canales came in and implemented his offense a little bit, it wasn't all just Shane Waldron, but there's definitely his imprint on it. The same way that Coen comes in, you'll have a little bit of Waldron, maybe a tiny bit of Canales, and a splash of Sean McVay as well. And I think that's important, not just because of Baker Mayfield, but for the entire offense, for the people that'll be here, that, yes, you're learning a couple of different terminologies, a bit of a different play here and there, but it's still overall the same system. I don't think there's going to be as many growing pains this year as there was last season coming in with Canales. And I absolutely love the fact that Liam Coen has previously called plays at Kentucky and way back in the day. And it wasn't just with star-studded guys. I mean, Scott, he's been coaching since 2010. Like, he's been in it for quite a while. Began at Brown, went over to Rhode Island, back to Brown, UMass, which is his alma mater. He played college football at UMass. It was roommates with Victor Cruz, so that's a fun little fact for you. And coached at Maine before he kind of went going back and forth between Kentucky and the Rams. So I love the experience that he has. And yes, it does make it much more enticing for Baker Mayfield to return. But at the same time, if Baker ends up getting a ginormous amount of money to a different team and the Bucs just say, hey, we can't match that, we can't pay that, I think the Bucs have set themselves up in a situation where Baker is the top quarterback priority, but all of their eggs are not just in the Baker basket because of Liam Coen having worked with different quarterbacks, whether it's with the Rams or even just working with college quarterbacks. And I think that's really helpful with the Bucs that they don't really, tie their hands together and handcuff them from doing other things.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Coen when he was at Kentucky the first time in 2021, he really helped Will Levis become that NFL draft prospect, right? And then this year he worked with Dennis Leary, who is probably a late day 3 guy, played a lot at North Carolina State, had an up and down career there, had an okay senior season, and again, probably a late day 3 guy. I think he's probably more like a John Wolford than he is a starting caliber quarterback, but we'll see. We'll talk more about his Kentucky connections. But the interesting thing, Matt, is what Baker Mayfield had to say. Our own Adam Slavon is out there, fresh from just a couple hours sleep. We drove back late last night from the Senior Bowl, and then Adam hopped in a car, drove out to Orlando for the Pro Bowl games, where he was able to catch up with Baker Mayfield and Tristan Wirfs, getting their thoughts on the expected hire of Liam Coen as the Bucs offensive coordinator.
Yeah, let's get to these videos.
I think he's straightforward. I love the system. Obviously, going to LA and then playing under Dave with a similar system. I love how it's called. I love just the approach of how the run sets up the pass and different things like that. So there's a lot of integral parts that you can give different complex looks to trick a defense. But Liam, he's smart in how he wants to approach it. He's got the mindset of he's a hard worker. He's really passionate about it, and that energy, guys feed off that.
And this next video, Baker talks a little bit more about his personality, Liam Coen's personality I'm talking about, and just the overall process for the Bucs looking at different coordinators. And I don't know, Baker yesterday was dropping wheeze when talking about the Bucs, and how he's speaking today kind of sounds like Baker wants to be back.
Yeah, I think out of all the guys they interviewed, all the names that I saw, a lot of good options. It's kind of hard. I don't understand how that thought process goes, but obviously got to work with Liam in LA. Great guy, really, really great guy. And so if they lock that down for sure, it's a similar system. Obviously, the same system, just some different terminology and how he wants to call things. But and there's something to say about that with continuity within the offense for skill guys, the offensive line. So it's important to have.
Pro Bowl really blasting that music in the background. And then Tristan Wirfs admittedly didn't know too much about Liam Coen, but there was a nice little reunion between Tristan Wirfs and Baker Mayfield. And That's worth every moment of this video.
Yeah.
Like 2 days later, he's like, you're the only one in Orlando. I said, what's in Orlando? I was like, oh my God. See, here he is. There he is. Here's my big friend. Yeah. So no, that was sick. That was really cool. Nothing really. I have to look him up on Twitter or something. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited to get to know him, and I don't know if anything's confirmed yet or what, but whatever happens, and I'm excited.
And then, as Scott mentioned, our very own investigative reporter, Adam Slavon, not just talking to Bucs players, got a hold of Kyren Williams, who's a running back with the Rams, and obviously got to play with Liam Coen for a little bit as well. Williams gave Adam the down low of what Liam Coen is going to bring come to Tampa Bay. Because remember, Baker was only there for a little over a month, so Williams got a whole season with him.
Expected to be the Bucs offensive coordinator. What can you say about Liam and like his system and what he brings?
I think he brings a very good system. I think he has a really good grasp about the run game and how they can improve the run game. And I feel like that's what he's going to do for the Bucs and that offense. And obviously, he's a great person as a person, and even as a coach. He's just a person who loves ball and loves his players. So I definitely expect the best from him. It's schematical. It's kind of how Coach McVay does it. Everything looks the same. Being able to, everything looks the same to the defense, but we're able to present different pictures, different runs, but in the same formation, same alignment. So it's just stuff like that, to make the defense think more.
Yeah, here's Kieran, but with a good point here. If he brings University of Kentucky's O-line coach to Tampa with him, then I'll see this as a great hire already, even before the Baker links. What are your thoughts on that, Matt? That's something that you kind of posed to us in the Pewter Report group chat this morning. You've done some research on that.
Yeah, I did. His name is Zach Yenser. Zach Yenser. He's actually originally from Kentucky. Coached around a little bit with Kansas, with Kentucky, and then from 2019 to 2021, he was the offensive line coach with the San Francisco 49ers. So Yenser does have experience coaching in the NFL, and if you recall, 49ers were still a pretty damn good team at that moment. They did go to the Super Bowl and unfortunately lost to the Chiefs. They'll have an opportunity next Sunday to try to get some revenge. But the Kentucky offensive line program has been well respected for quite a while. Even before Yenser had gotten there, they had a very infamous coach that unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. But a lot of the times, you'll get the Will Levis and the Mike Edwards of the Kentucky football program. But a lot of the times, it's those offensive linemen, the hogs up front, that are the ones getting a lot of attention with players trying to go to the next level. And we all know the name of the deal for the Bucs offense going into this season. It's re-sign Baker Mayfield. It's re-sign Mike Evans and improve that running game. Because as we've talked about the past couple of weeks and this week as well, dead last in the running game for 2 years in a row, of course, is bad, but it's even more steaming mad for someone like Todd Bowles that really, really wants to run the ball. You got a pivotal running back in Rachaad White, and now, presumably with Liam Coen coming in, there's a Kentucky prospect this year that maybe becomes even more of a fit for the Buccaneers in Ray Davis, who made an incredible one-handed catch during the Senior Bowl. So could be another little piece that is coming to Tampa Bay this year.
Yeah, you're exactly right about Ray Davis. Craig Carr, just to clarify here, Carr says he didn't call plays as the offensive coordinator with the Rams. He did. Sean McVay ceded play calling duties in Week 12. So from weeks 13 through 18, those games, and those were the games that Baker Mayfield started at quarterback, mind you. Liam Coen was the offensive coordinator and play caller for the Rams. And now McVay took those play calling duties back in 2023. And that's what prompted Coen to go back to Kentucky, because he wanted to continue to call plays. So that's the reason why he left. And then he came back to work with the Rams one more time with McVay after working with Will Levis in Kentucky for a year. He got the opportunity to call plays at the NFL level for those remaining games. Again, threw up a 51-point game against the Denver Broncos late in the season. And but then wanted to continue to call plays. That's why he went back to Kentucky. And as you mentioned, worked with Ray Davis, who we just got back from the Senior Bowl, and he was one of the standouts. I thought he had some really good, ability to catch the ball. 33 catches at Kentucky. He had, I think he averaged 9.8 yards per catch, scored 7 touchdowns as a receiver, and also added 14 touchdowns on the ground and rushing for over 1,000 yards. This was his first year in Kentucky. He previously played at Temple as well as Vanderbilt. Very good, compactly built back that can do it all. He's a first, second, and third down guy. He would be a great complementary runner to Rachaad White. And this is a guy that Matt, myself, Josh, Bailey, and Adam had our eye on in Mobile, and I thought he was one of the better backs there. And as you said, Matt, made a fantastic one-handed catch at one-on-ones.
Yeah,
went to the ground.
You know what, Scott? We actually have that video. Why don't we play it so all the Pewter people can see it? There's a second half with another player, but I could just cut that short. That is a flashy play. I'll play it one more time just in case someone looked away for a moment. Yeah, there is a lot to like about Ray Davis. Just watching some of his highlight tape, one of the things I enjoy the most is that he's not afraid to lower the shoulder. There are some running backs that are just they'll go down before getting hit and try to avoid the contact or go out of bounds. He kind of looks for the contact, which I admire. And I would love for the Bucs running game, even if it's not Ray Davis, I would like for a little bit of a thunder and lightning type of approach with the Bucs run game, or just something a little bit different than Rachaad White, because Rachaad, and we really liked him and everything. Yeah, a little bit more of like smoothness and glider and things like that. I think the Bucs got a little more hard nose, a little more physicality, or someone that's just so electric with their speed that even it's different and a compliment to Rachaad White. And Ray Davis obviously can kind of bring a little bit more of that physicality that I think this Bucs run game needs. Yeah, he's about 5'9", 215 pounds. He's ask the Florida Gators how good he is. He went for over 200 yards against them. Long Lost Laser says this guy is the only man possible to tank a McVay offense. Every year McVay ranks top 10 except 2022 when Liam Coen was the offensive coordinator. They ranked 32, dead last in offense. In McVay's worst year, 5-12, not good. A couple of things about this. There was a Super Bowl hangover, okay, with the Rams. There absolutely was. And guess what? It happened here in Tampa. I saw it firsthand in 2003. Didn't quite happen for the Buccaneers this time around because I think they had a more veteran team. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, all those guys. They tried to run it back in 2021. And we're successful, I think, in really avoiding the Super Bowl hangover. Yeah. But I saw it firsthand with Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Rondé Barber, Brad Johnson, all those guys that won the Super Bowl in 2002, Simeon Rice. They were still seeing confetti fall into the 2003 season. They lost their focus, and I think the Rams did the exact same thing. Plus, when you consider that Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, which were two huge components to getting the Rams into the Super Bowl and winning it, were lost for half the season. I think you have to consider that as well. So this is not like a thing where Stafford and Kupp played the whole year and played poorly. They only played half the year. They played John Wolford at quarterback for 3 games. They played Baker Mayfield for 4. So that's 7 starts right there. Guys not named Matt Stafford. So I think you have to take that in consideration as well. And again, the points actually increased once McVay gave up the play calling duties and turned it over to Liam Coen. The funny thing is I keep wanting to call him a different name, and it's going to take me almost like when Ryan Neal signed with the Bucs, and this team just had Keanu Neal and Logan Ryan. Yeah. And you have to kind of like get those guys out of your head. I've had to get Liam Neeson out of my head because he's like the number one Liam in my world. He has a special set of skills. Well, exactly. Well, that's what I was going to say is I hope Liam Coen has a special set of skills, which is scoring a lot of points and
Yes.
scoring a lot of touchdowns with the Buccaneers offense. But yeah, Scott, I agree with everything that you said. I mean, obviously it's factual. It's not even agreeing or not, but context is super important when it comes to looking at the record of the Rams when he was OC, looking at who was calling the plays, and really on top of everything else, who was available. Because if you don't have Cooper Kupp and you don't have Matt Stafford, and you're down to a quarterback that just showed up 48 hours ago, which you won with, by the way.
Right.
I don't know how many coordinators across the league would have really been able to succeed in that type of situation.
Yeah. And also too, to point out, when you look at the fact that Kevin O'Connell was the offensive coordinator during the Super Bowl year, again, Sean McVay calls the plays, right? But Kevin O'Connell was that top offensive assistant, and that he left, right, and for the 2022 season. And even though there was some familiarity and some continuity with Coen working with the receivers and the quarterbacks as an assistant capacity, he was also in a new role when he came back in 2022 with different responsibilities, taking over for Kevin O'Connell that year. So there is a little bit of context that needs to be added here. Again, he has called plays. He's further ahead in the game than Dave Canales was, and I think that's what excites the Buccaneers. Talk to some people over there at the front office. They're very excited about this potential hire, just trying to get him under contract now.
And I think what's really important for Bucs fans in general, because there's going to be some people that like this. There's going to be some people that kind of hate it. And I'm not telling you how to think one way or another.
Yeah.
All I'll say is last year they hired Dave Canales. He wasn't very well known, at least in the Northeast and the South, and really just the East Coast in general, because he was in the Pacific Northwest for quite a while. And let's remember, the Bucs were predicted to be dead last, number 1 overall pick, 6.5 wins, and they highly exceeded expectations. All I'm saying is you're bringing in this coach who has a similar type of offense, who's worked with Baker Mayfield.
Who's worked under Sean McVay for years.
He's worked for Sean McVay. Let's all try to have somewhat of an open mind before we just say this is going to fail.
Yeah.
We can point to reasons why this may fail, but we can also point to reasons of why this may succeed, and the team could compete to win the division again. I just think it's important. We can't just write off anyone one way or another just because of preconceived notions about this offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I think the thing too that's important to realize is some of the guys they went with that were in the NFL recently, right? We're talking about Alex Van Pelt. We're talking about Brian Johnson from the Eagles. They had just come off of being with teams here in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe there was initially a little bit of, would Liam Coen even be interested in the job? Because he was at Kentucky, as he was at the Rams, then went to Kentucky, then, back to the Rams for a year, and then still wanted to call plays. And so he went back to college. Does his heart lie in college? Does he have aspirations to return to the NFL?
Yeah.
Maybe that wasn't really realized until later this week when they were, again, casting a wide net. They interviewed a couple guys in-house, Thad Lewis, the quarterback's coach, John Van Dam, the tight ends coach, and then a couple of other guys that don't have play calling experience. Jake Peets is one, Tyler Engstad is another. So they wanted to kind of get a wide array of candidates in the building for interviews, and they did just that. Even Antoine Randall, the Lions receivers coach. So I think they were pleasantly surprised to hear that Liam Coen was interested to interview and interested in coming back to the NFL because he wants to call plays at this level, and this is an opportunity for him to do so.
And for all we know, he could be looking at what happened with Dave Canales last year. You get an opportunity to be an offensive coordinator and call the plays. You do a good job, and then you become the head coach of another team next season. I mean, there is kind of a model and formula for that right now. And speaking of Dave Canales, we got a super chat from LDBC's Most Wanted. Thank you very much, LDBC, for the $1.99, who says, Pewter Report, over or under 3.5 years for head coach Dave Canales? I'll start with this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the over
Oh, wow.
because
Okay.
he got signed to a 6-year deal, correct?
Yeah.
So you got to give him at least the first 2 years to try to like turn things around.
Yeah.
You already had a terrible team that had 2 wins last season.
Right.
You could only unless you lose every game, which I don't foresee that happening, or you go 1 win, you could really only go up from there. And I think David Tepper, with the explosiveness that he had, throwing the drink and all the different things that's already gone on during his tenure as the owner of the Carolina Panthers, I think he's kind of learned, or at least for his sake, I hope he's kind of learned that you got to let it play out a little bit more. You got to have a little more patience when it comes to it. There was even a video the other day when Canales got hired and it was like, hey, Mr. Tepper, like, you want to talk? You want to do some questions? And he was like, nah, I'm in the background on this one. So maybe he's learning it in that sense. So that's why I think Canales at least gets the 4 years. So I'm taking the over.
Yeah. For Dave's sake, I would take the over. For Tepper's sake, I would take the under. I just think that he has shown a track record of impatience. And I love Dave and hope he does a very good job in Carolina, not too good of a job, and certainly not against the Buccaneers. Don't mind the Carolina Panthers getting swept each year by Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
But having said that, I just got a feeling because there's so much building and development that needs to go on in Carolina. The roster is just not good. It's going to take some time. You only have so many draft picks, right? And he's not going to have a first-round pick this year. He's not going to have a second-round pick next year because of the trade up to get Bryce Young.
Right.
Those are 2 starters he's already going to be missing that he just won't have. So having said that, because of Tepper, I think Canales might be setting the table for the next head coach. And it's, and we'll see. I hope I'm wrong for Dave's sake, but that's just kind of what I'm thinking. King Cook says, let's see here. There we go. I'm so sick of these mediocre signings, man. Another overhyped Canales 2.0. Well, all I can say is, who would you prefer, King Cook? There was not a lot of great candidates out there to begin with, right? So the pool wasn't exactly deep. And at the same time, Matt LaFleur had to start somewhere as a play caller. Sean McVay had to start somewhere as a play caller. Mike McDaniels had to start somewhere as a play caller. Zach Taylor. You can go down the list of the bright young offensive minds. They got to start calling plays somewhere at some point in time. And they were all rookie play callers, at one particular stop, whether it was as a head coach, right, like Mike McDaniels, or whether it is as a coordinator first, like O'Connell, and then you get a head coaching job, then you're calling plays. So I don't know who you had your heart set on or who you were thinking, but I think out of the candidates that they interviewed, the only other guy that I thought would have been just as good of a fit would have been Alex Van Pelt. And he, I think, opted to go for the Patriots. So, and part of it is you got to keep in mind, Todd Bowles in NFL circles may not be on the hot seat, but he is perhaps not on solid ground. He's 17-17 as a head coach with a 1-2 record in the postseason. Okay. So he's won 2 division championships in the worst division in football. He gets credit for that. But as John Gruden would say, you are what your record says you are. 17-17, 1-2. Not knocking Todd. That's just the facts. So if you're Zach Robinson, right, and you go from the Rams, where he was the offensive coordinator, to the Falcons with Raheem Morris, well, you just witnessed Arthur Blank give 3 years of mediocrity to Arthur Smith. He got 3 years to go 7-7 or 7-10, 7-10, 7-10, right? So you have to think Raheem Morris is at least going to have 3 years to prove that he can do better than 7-10. Well, how many years is Todd Bowles going to have here? Can you or I or anybody say he's definitely going to be the Bucs head coach for the next 3 years?
No.
Listen, as an offensive assistant, as a play caller, as an assistant coach, whatever, you want continuity. You don't have to uproot your family every other year and go around the country. I mean, they have lives, they have families, they have careers. So when you look at Gerard Mayo just getting started up in New England, and you look at Raheem Morris just getting started in Atlanta, those head coaches actually have better job security than Todd Bowles does in Tampa. And I think that may have been a reason why you look at Joe Gilbert and Harold Goodwin possibly leaving, going to Carolina, and saying, wow, if Todd Bowles has a bad season, let's say they win 5 games this year, probably going to be fired. And then I'm looking for a new job. So you have to consider some of the periphery as well when it comes to some of these hires.
Like, it's not Madden. It's not just like, oh, hey, like this person can go here and then, all right, I'm done doing this. I'll shut the game off. Like, there are other effects that everybody has to deal with. So that's a really good point. Thanks to Paul, aka Florida Dreamhouse, for the $2 super chat, who says celebrity super chat for Liam Coen. Promising move. Yeah, I think promising is a good word, because we don't totally know that he's going to pan out. He very much could fail, but he very much could exceed expectations and be better than what Dave Canales was last year, and specifically with Baker Mayfield. And there's a little bit of an advantage for Coen, because if Baker comes back and Mike Evans comes back, it's year 2 in a similar offense with more chemistry than obviously they had the year before. So I think promising is a good word. And thanks again to LDBC is Most Wanted for a $4.99 super chat, who says, how big will it be for this team if the 2023 draft class can continue to develop? Cansey, Yaya, Palmer, Malk, Izzian can help keep Bowles past 2024. Absolutely. I mean, Cansey and Yaya, we've talked about kind of being like a Sapp and Simeon Rice type of situation, not comparing those two players to the Hall of Famer and close level Hall of Famer. Right. Trey Palmer, I think if he can truly become what his ceiling is a great fit in this offense. I mean, you saw some of the sprinkles of it in that playoff game against the Eagles with the catch and run. Obviously, Malk with the offensive line really solidifying that interior, which was a weakness of the unit last year. But look at the jump Luke Gedeke made in year 2.
That's right.
To say that Cody Malk can't do that. And Izzian as well is super important. So their development, I think, can be gigantic for the Bucs moving forward.
And there's some talk too with Izzian that he may get a look at strong safety, right? Because he's built like Jordan Whitehead, right?
Yes,
he's only 5'8.5" or so, but he's rocked up. I mean, this guy's not allergic to the weight room, right? He's big and fast. He ran a 4.41. He can cover. He's good in the box. We know that he's got a year's worth of experience in the NFL playing slot. But if you go back and look at his tape at Rutgers, he lined up almost as a slot about a third of the time, free safety a third of the time, and also the box as well. So he can play a multitude of positions. He's a little bit of a chess piece because of his versatility, and maybe he's better suited at strong safety. But he's a candidate if the Bucs don't come away with the strong safety in free agency. It's not going to be Jordan Whitehead, because their money's going to be spent on re-signing their own guys, and the price tag for Baker Mayfield, I think, is going up, by the way. So we will see. Patrick has got a good question here. Is Todd Bowles perpetually on the hot seat? No, he's not on the hot seat. If he can continue to ascend, he will. And I don't think he's on the hot seat per se, but I think he can't afford to take a step back. I think he's got to continue to maintain and build. Yeah. And I think that's with most coaches. But what you don't want to do is become stagnant and stale. You don't want to be the next Ron Rivera or the next Jeff Fisher, where you're constantly hovering around 500, right? And in this division, guess what? You might win the division, okay?
Right.
But if some of these teams rise up, and hopefully it's Tampa Bay, hopefully the Bucs take the next step and get to 10 wins, 11 wins, 12 wins in the regular season, right? Like what the Lions did this past year, going from 9-8 and missing the playoffs in 2022, Matt, to going 12-5 and winning the division and really becoming that team in the NFC North. I think that's what the Bucs, the Glazers, Jason Light want to see. And what Todd Bowles wants is to become that team in the NFC North and not have to win the division in week 17 like they did it with Tom Brady, in week 18 like they did with Baker Mayfield.
Of course. And the ace in the hole for Bowles for the past 2 years, even specifically this most recent season, was getting to that second round of the playoffs, or at least winning the division, having a playoff game his first year as coach and his second year as Bucs coach, getting to that second round. So you can point to something that he did well and found some success. But eventually, if that runs out and you either miss the playoffs or you don't win the division and you have a road wild card game and that doesn't work well, then you're kind of back to square one a little bit with Todd Bowles. So yeah, he definitely needs to step up with his record as a head coach because it's baby steps right now. 8-9, 9-8, 10-7 would look a little bit better. Double-digit wins on the season, but yeah, I think you're spot on with. He's definitely not on the hot seat, but if they start out 0-3, 1-4, he's definitely going to have a hot plate in front of him that could eventually morph itself into a seat. There's not much margin for error for Todd Bowles.
Yeah, exactly. Just like when you're, I don't know, really tired from driving all night, coming back from Mobile, Alabama, and you wake up at the first thing in the morning and you see that the Buccaneers have closed in on an offensive coordinator candidate, not Liam Coen from the Rams. Well, I don't know about you, Matt, but the first thing I did this morning was I went and I grabbed a can of Celsius Essentials.
Oh, yeah. Love the Celsius Essentials. We had them all week in Mobile, Alabama. Celsius helped us get home. I know I had it on the drive home from Mobile last night. But the Celsius Essentials, their newest flavors. Check out the Dragonberry or the Blue Crush or the Orange as well. Awesome flavors, 275 milligrams of caffeine, no sugar. They are the elite level energy drinks to help get you your best physical and cognitive performances. If you want to try out the Celsius Essentials, you can get them anywhere at 7-Eleven. They are out nationwide. You can get the variety pack at Walmart, and they're coming to Amazon soon enough. Of course, if you need to find any Celsius, whether it's the Essentials or some of the old school flavors, the sparkling orange, sparkling lemon lime, Arctic vibe, go to the Celsius store locator on their website, punch in your address, and it'll tell you the closest location where you can find one. Maybe it's a convenience store, a health and fitness store, or your bodega. And once you go into your bodega and you know you want more, get that variety pack. Head on over to Amazon. Get the variety pack because variety is the spice of life. Click on the subscribe and save. Have it sent to your residence whenever you want. Could be a week, month, quarterly, yearly. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drinks of the Pewter Report Podcast. We're going to have to get Liam Coen on.
Yeah.
Now I was about to say Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get Liam Coen on Celsius.
Yeah, I totally agree. Matter of fact, when I went to Walgreens to grab some more Celsius, I ran into Derek, the Celsius rep, the local Mobile rep there, and he gave me the new Celsius Essentials Dragonberry, which we tried, which was amazing. So Celsius, don't have to keep doing it, but they do. More awesome flavors. Start your day or power your day. Sometimes you might need that Celsius in the afternoon. We had some very, very long days in Mobile, Alabama, covering the Bucs while we were also covering practice.
Yeah.
Getting a good read on some of these guys. And the interesting thing is like we said on the beginning of the show, and if you missed Baker Mayfield or Tristan Wirfs' comments, or even Kyron Williams, the Rams running back's comments about Liam Coen, make sure that you go back and watch the first couple minutes of the podcast because they were quite good. But one of the other Kentucky player that was there at the game was Trevin Wallace, and I think was one of the fastest linebackers in Mobile. And he's someone I'm going to have to go back and do some work on. I thought he had a solid week. I don't think it was spectacular, but when you look at the fact that Liam Coen, Matt, not only did he coach Ray Davis and Devin Leary, the quarterback, there were also some kind of other Kentucky Wildcats that'll be draft eligible players on that squad as well. And Trevin Wallace, the linebacker, was one of them. But then the other thing is this is a guy that was at Kentucky in 2021 as well as 2023. And so he's got a working understanding of the defensive players, right? We just saw Darius Robinson from Missouri, defensive lineman. Well, guess what? Kentucky played Missouri twice. Mm-hmm. And he's also played Georgia and Alabama and Florida and Tennessee. And so there's a lot of these SEC defensive players in this year's draft that he's either had one or two looks at game planning against. So he can be a wealth of firsthand information for the Bucs scouting department as they're setting their draft board and doing some prospect evaluations, right? I mean, it's one thing to watch guys on tape. It's another thing to have to game plan against them and then watch them go against your offense and give you fits maybe for 3 hours on a given Saturday. Or maybe you took advantage of some of those SEC defensive players and whipped them pretty good. And you say, hey, well, we really had our way with this guy. You know, you have him higher than maybe I would have him going up against him as an offensive coordinator. So good timing for this particular signing coming from the college ranks, because I think he can help the Bucs scouting department a little bit in some of their evaluations.
That's very true. And maybe also he can give Todd Bowles the secret formula to stopping Jared Goff, because Todd Bowles has not been able to do that either. Yeah,
there's no doubt about it. So I think the thing right now really for Liam Coen, well, first of all, he's got to sign the contract.
Yes.
We still have not heard word that he has officially been signed, but all indications are that he is the guy. He interviewed for the job, and I think it's just coming down to getting his name on the paper in terms of getting that contract signed, sealed, and delivered. Hopefully doing that today. I think the biggest thing that he needs, if that's the case, is probably start looking for a home here in Tampa with real estate. And I've got one name I can offer up in terms of a good resource for him, and that's Eric Gross and the Eric Gross Group, the official realtor of Pewter Report. Folks, you're not going to find somebody that has more knowledge about the Tampa area than this Tampa native. Eric Gross and the Eric Gross Group, well, they're based here in Tampa, and Eric's father was stationed at MacDill Air Force Base. He and his team have got the market knowledge, the top-notch communication, the commitment to excellent service that sets them apart. And it's not just looking for a house. You're looking for a home. That means the right community. That means trying to find a place that fits all of your needs for you and your family, whether it's the school system, whether it's access to highways, whether it's shopping centers and restaurants nearby. And that's where Eric and his team can come in. Their clients are not just transactions or lifelong friends. Don't let the stress of buying or selling a home keep you out of the game. Let the Eric Gross Group take the pressure off. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Eric Gross Group. Check out their website, housesinfla.com, or give Eric a call at 513-907-4271. That's housesinfla.com. Check out the inventory. Check out their listings for their latest open houses, too. No matter where you are on your home ownership journey, you're going to feel welcome with the Eric Gross Group, the official realtor of Pewter Report. And again, visit housesinfla.com.
Very exciting stuff on a Friday for the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Presumably a new offensive head coach coming in. Baker Mayfield and Tristan Wirfs at the Pro Bowl. Some content coming out from that. They got the Pro Bowl games this weekend as well. And obviously a lot more to come from.
And we have the Senior Bowl tomorrow as well. So we've got
Senior Bowl game as well.
Yeah, we've got two events to cover, the Pro Bowl as well as the Senior Bowl. And we've got a ton of content. I'm going to be finishing up my Fab Five, which was supposed to go up this morning, but we had breaking news instead and did this podcast and a couple stories for you, and as well as getting some video clips from Adam Slavon out there live in Orlando. So it's been a busy morning here at Pewter Report. We really appreciate you joining us during your lunch hour. And great.
Unprompted, we just said, all right, we're doing this.
And great for you that you could skip some work and have to take this important call and check out the Pewter Report podcast during your lunch hour. So as always, appreciate you, Pewter people. We'll be back next Monday at 4:00 for our usual time.
Of course. And in the meantime, please follow us on all of our social media on X, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Pewter Report. And our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Got tons of content, got a reaction video already, this podcast, and a lot of other great stuff. So that's going to do it for us on this emergency podcast, as I like Rice Bish says as well. And please like and subscribe. Leave a comment as well. Whether or not you like the move by the Bucs, let us know. We love seeing your opinion. So that's going to do it for us. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you on Monday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Enjoy your weekend.